Hello and welcome to Pharma Television News Review here in Munich at BioEurope 2010. On this show, I have Johanna Holldack, who is CEO of a company called Telormedix, based in Switzerland. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Johanna, your company is a relatively new company. It was founded in 2007. It's based in Switzerland. Tell us about the company.
Well, you know, in a way, it's a really unique company. First of all, at the very beginning, it raised one of the biggest rounds in Europe with 21 million Swiss franc. And that allowed us to develop our lead compound, and it allowed us to build a portfolio. And we are kind of proud to say that only after 2.5 years we have been able to move our first compound into clinical development. So we started at the beginning of this year a phase 1/2 clinical trial in bladder cancer. And we have treated the first patients, and it's going really well. And of course, that is a key value driver. So we are a young biotech company, but we have already a compound in clinical trials, and we are building a portfolio.
Okay, so let's just look at the structure of this. So first of all, tell us a little bit more about the product that you've got going into clinical trials, or is in clinical trials, because it's from an existing product that you've reformulated. Tell us about that story.
Well, if you look at imiquimod, which is on the market as Aldara, which is now off patents, is a compound that has a good efficacy profile in topical cancers, in actinic keratosis, in basal cell carcinoma, and in genital warts. That is actually has been the first indication. So what we did, we reformulated it. We have a patented formulation that allows the safe instillation into the bladder, and it's a formulation that allows the compound to stick to the wall of the bladder and therefore increase the efficacy. What these compounds do, what imiquimod and agonists to the toll-like receptor 7 do, is they induce pro-inflammatory cytokines. So you induce a topical inflammation, and that inflammation kills the tumor cells. So the intensity of the inflammation is directly correlated to the anti-tumor effect. So what we have to do in phase 1 is find the right dose where the patient still can tolerate the inflammation, but where you have already a strong anti-tumor effect.
And the type of clinical trials you're conducting right now, what sort of patients, where are they in the terms of their progression of the disease, and what's your clinical strategy around bladder cancer?
The clinical trial is performed in the Netherlands in different sites, and the first part of the clinical trial is in patients where the tumor has been completely removed, and it's a classical dose escalation trial. Just last week we have been in the position to go to the next dose level, and so far it's going really well. And once we have established the safety, we will start a second part of the clinical trial in patients where we leave in a marker lesion. A marker lesion means a little rest of the tumor that allows us to establish the optimal biological dose. So find the dose where the patient has not too many side effects, but where the tumor disappears. And that has been established in clinical trials, that those marker lesion trials are really predictive for the anti-tumor effect of compounds.
Right. Now, another key component to your company you've mentioned already is the collaboration that you have with in California, in San Diego. Could you tell us about that and why that is an important collaboration?
Okay. Dennis Carson, the head of the lab and the head of the Moore Center in San Diego, is a co-founder of the company. And he has been involved in the whole history, and he's very much involved today in all the scientific activities that we are doing. All the compounds that we develop are derived from his lab. Our research department is basically located in his lab. They perform the proof of concept animal experiments once the compounds have been defined, and then once we have established the proof of concept, we take it on and do the more formal development. But it's a very close cooperation. We talk and exchange data and emails almost daily.
So what is the, what is the specific target that you use and is the basis of this collaboration? Could you tell us about that and why it's important for the types of areas that you're progressing?
Okay. Everything we do, and I think it's important for a small company to focus, is around toll-like receptor 7. There's a whole family of toll-like receptors, and they are part of the innate immune system. The toll-like receptor 7 differentiates itself from all the other toll-like receptors. By that you can stimulate it with small molecules. All the other toll-like receptors are activated by peptides, proteins, oligos. And this toll-like receptor is an intracellular compound. So therefore it's very important to develop compounds that have a chance to have a high intracellular concentration.
So with this underlying capability, where does that lead you? What therapeutic areas can you go with the toll-like 7 receptor?
Well, there are different things you can do. What we are going to do, we will focus our compounds, or what we develop, on topical cancer indications. But there are other indications in autoimmune diseases, anti-inflammatory indications that we try to establish corporations with companies that have more know-how in that area, and we are making progress in identifying those future partners. And then I should mention that one of the compounds is a strong vaccine adjuvant. We have really striking data, and since we don't want to be a vaccine company, we have established a cooperation with the Tropical Institute in Basel, and we are working on some cooperations with vaccine companies, and they will do further experiments and then maybe license this particular part of the compound.
Right. So just look at the compounds that are coming through currently. I mean, obviously you've got your lead compound, which we just talked about, which is for bladder cancer.
Right.
So you've got a group of other molecules coming through. Just briefly describe those molecules.
Yeah, there is what we call the 2OX family. And they will first be developed in actinic keratosis and basal cell carcinoma, topical skin cancer. In the long run, we might develop it in bladder cancer as well, but there's no hurry. I mean, we hope to get a compound to the market, and then it doesn't make sense to have something 2 years or 3 years later already. But we might explore that opportunity. And then the 3OX family will be developed in tissue repair and anti-inflammatory indications. Okay.
So the company, as you said, it's just barely 3 years old.
Mm.
And so where do you go with it? I mean, you've obviously got to focus on your lead compound and start, pushing that further into through clinical trials. So what are your aspirations for the company over the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, our primary goal and really the highest priority right now is to finish that clinical trial. And depending on how many dose escalation steps we have to do, that will happen in the second half of 2011. And then there will be a time where we need to make some major strategic decisions. Do we go out and raise more money? Are we seeking an exit? That all depends on the financial environment, and it depends on the quality of the data, obviously. But so the short-term goal is finishing the clinical trial and establishing the proof of concept in humans for the bladder cancer compound.
Johanna Holldack, thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.